All right, welcome everybody. If you want to see some calm, friendly debate tonight, hopefully we can get some interesting conversation going. Maybe press the like button and share with friends. Thank you very much for your support and for joining. We hopefully we can get a few people in here who might want to join as guests, and we'll have an interesting conversation. Let's see. No guest requests yet. Anybody got any comments to make? How we know the Earth is a globe, Q&A. That goes for globers or flat earthers. If you just want to learn more, or if you have counterpoints that you want to offer in calm, friendly debate, that's good too. Or sometimes there's a perspective I've never heard and we can learn together, or I can learn. That happens too. That's always fun. Welcome everyone. Surely we can get some flat earthers in here tonight. We got a guest request from Mojo Rider.
Hello, good sir.
How you doing tonight?
Indubitably.
Are you a glober or a flat earther? Or some other variety?
The earth is flat, good sir, in my opinion.
Okay.
For thus reasons being.
Well, before you get into that, do you agree to abide by my rules? Just to be clear.
Indubitably, of course, I am a gentleman.
All right. Thank you. So, proceed.
Indubitably. So the earth is flat because
Was there more to that sentence?
and which leads me to my last point is in all that I just said is that it's the reason is because it is
Okay,
flat.
now I could almost hear white noise. I'm pretty sure that your audio didn't just cut out. I think you actually stopped speaking. Are you making a joke here?
No, sir, I would not do that. The earth is flat.
Well, I'm starting to question whether you really are a flat earther or if you're just trying to be a clown.
No. I do not clown around about these matters at all.
All right, well, at least you're giving me a good laugh. We got another request now from America First. I'm not sure if that's a good sign or not. Anything you'd like to actually share, Mojo Rider?
A new movie came out. It's called Sasquatch Sunset. Everybody watch it. It looks pretty legit. Sasquatch Sunset.
Is that
About
it?
it though. Yeah.
All right. Oh, welcome, Bob the Science Guy. He's in my comments there. All right, so is that all you were going to share, Mojo?
What else? What else? There's something else too.
Well, if it's not coming to mind quickly, then I might just invite the next guest and say goodnight to you.
Oh, okay. If it comes back to me, can I request to join again?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. I'll talk later. What was it?
Thanks. Have a good night.
What was it? What was it?
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Can you hear me? All right. So,
Yes.
if you believe the Earth is flat, if you take a stake and you put it in the ground, at one point in 100 miles, you put it in the ground, the sun's over the Earth at the same time. Why are the shadows different lengths?
Well, because 100 miles away, the uh, surface of the Earth would be slightly tilted a different direction.
About 1.5 degrees, a little less. Well, no, about 1.5 degrees.
But you believe the Earth is flat.
No, that's silly.
Oh,
So, did you come here thinking I was a flat earther?
yeah, I'm sorry. He says, because you wrote, well, how do you know the Earth is a globe? So what else would it be?
Well, I'm offering to share my knowledge about how we know the Earth is a globe.
Oh,
That's the wording.
understood. Misunderstood the question. Okay.
Sorry for the confusion. I mean, not that Globers
No, no
aren't
problem.
welcome. Like I don't at this very moment have any flat earthers requesting, so
I just think that you gotta understand the population's been brainwashed, brother.
well, I mean, in what way?
What do you mean, in what way? How about the fact that everybody's so worried about their 9 to 5 jobs, nobody reacts on anything. There's shootings, there's questions to be answered about anything. Let's go Las Vegas shooting. There's so many questions to be answered. This was in the 60s. Did that shit wouldn't fly? We're so worried about our everyday lives, and it sucks too because you have to pay your mortgage, you have to pay your bills. People can't just they're
You
so worried
say
about living, you can't just go do what you got to
you
do.
say there's questions about the Las Vegas incident?
Oh hell's yeah! There was three
I don't know.
shooters.
Do you even want to go that way, Peter?
Which one?
Um,
I'm talking about the shooting, the one that they shot to the crowd
I
from
know
the
which
building.
one you're talking about, but this isn't
yeah, I don't
this
really
isn't
want to
the
go that
forum for that.
direction.
All
Um,
right, so have a good day. But we're on the same page. If you don't want to go that way, that's fine. Thank you.
thank you. Have a good night.
You too. That is.
There we go. I'm trying to like train myself not to use that interface that was tripping me up last time and like kicking the wrong guest. I'm trying to train myself to use the other interface. Oh boy. How you doing, Bob?
You like the sextant video, Peter?
I did. That was wonderful and fun. Um, I think I learned something watching that. Thank you.
So many people in the science denial community have no clue what they're talking about with sextants, but they
Oh yeah.
express themselves with such confidence. People actually think they do know something about it, and they really don't. It's just sad.
Yeah.
You know, when you start talking about triangles
Yeah,
and curved
that's
adjacents, that's a real clue that they don't have the first idea what they're talking about.
so actually since we're on the subject and I've got you here and nobody else, maybe I'll go ahead and try to ask the question I was asking in your comments, if that's all
Sure,
right with you.
sure.
So I took a screenshot here from your video,
Yep,
and I recall in the video that you pointed at this part right here,
yep,
and you drew another little 90-degree
right.
indicator, and you were saying this is um,
That
the
that that means it's a vertical line from that point on Earth.
yes, 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 agreed, and I understand that. But you said this was the geographical position of the star, basically, right?
Yeah,
Um, but previously you had established this is, the observer right here, and this is the horizon line of the observer, and this is
yep.
where the horizon is.
Where's the star?
What's that?
Where is the star?
Well, the star is drawn here in your diagram,
Yeah,
but if the observer sees it in one of these directions, obviously stars are, many
Okay, I
light
see where
years
your
away.
misunderstanding is. All right. The issue that you run into there is that I just happened to draw that star at with a geographic position at the horizon. Okay.
Okay.
I could have drawn it down at 3 o'clock, and as long as it would be above that tangent line right there, I could see it, and I could measure an angle to it.
Yeah, so it would be like somewhere off in this direction,
See, if it's up there
kind
by
of.
my thumbnail, uh,
Yeah.
yeah, right there, and you drew a line straight from my thumbnail to the center of the Earth, the geographic position of the star would be about there, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that would also have a 90-degree angle on it because the star would have been at the zenith from that spot on Earth. That's what that 90-degree mark means. It's at the zenith.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Right.
have anything to
Yeah.
do with triangles.
Now, assuming this is a star instead of like a satellite or something, then it's going to be
Yes.
much more distant. And so if the observer in your diagram here is seeing it in this direction, then its geographic position is going to be somewhere on this side of the sphere where
No.
a parallel line to this or this, I guess, would be
Well, you
um
understand that diagram's not even remotely close to scale. I was just
yeah,
basically
yeah.
demonstrating some things. So, for example, the
Yeah,
solid
obviously the
line,
observer height is pretty
yeah,
exaggerated, yeah.
the solid lines are what you actually measure on the sextant itself. Then you put
Yeah.
in the dip correction to bring it up to vertical,
Yeah.
or bring it up to horizontal, excuse me. And then you also have to put in the refraction correction on the top and bring the star down. So your
Right.
true angle is between those two dotted lines. And then you subtract that from 90, and that gives you your zenith angle.
Yeah, I got that much. And
Yeah.
I think like if this were a star, that would mean that the geographical position of this star, like
Well,
this looks
if
to
that
me
was
like it would
really to
be
scale,
it'd be like down
the
here.
observer would nearly be at the geographic position of the star. It would only be, half a degree off or something. Or considerably less. If your horizon's 10 miles, that means that your geographic, your zenith angle would be 1/6 of a degree or 10 arc minutes. So it would be
Okay.
very tiny. But I wanted to put it out. The main point of that diagram was to demonstrate where the dip angle came from and what happens with the refraction correction on the star itself.
Yeah.
That was what I
Yeah,
was
and that much was
demonstrating.
clear. That was
I wasn't worried at all about where the geographic position of the star was. I wanted to demonstrate those two angles right there.
yeah, and you did that very, very well. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thanks for indulging my question. I tend to
Took me a minute to
I
figure out exactly what you were asking, but once I did, I see
yeah.
exactly where it came from, and I see why the diagram caused you to ask that question.
I used to drive my teachers nuts in school.
Well, that's good. That's the type of student you like.
I don't know if all of them liked that kind of student, but I
Yeah,
appreciate
well, you're
that.
not young Sheldon. At least you have a personality and you ask good questions and then you think about the answer for a minute and understand what's going on. You grasp the answer when it's given to you. That's the frustrating thing with a lot of flat earthers is they're so
Yeah.
hung up on their script, they can't comprehend the answer as if they were paying attention to the answer in the first place. Their main goal was just to ask the question and try and sow doubt.
Yeah. So I guess I can tell a story here of a fun little question I posed to my physics teacher in high school that had her kind of puzzling at first. Um, and I can remember almost exactly what the scenario was. So, like, it was the range equation. So we were talking about projectiles, right? Oh, that's a big fat brush. Hold on. So here's our ground, and we had like, let's say, I think it was like a ship on the sea, you know, and there was like a range of mountains, and then there was a city, right? And the idea was like if this ship wanted to fire a projectile, and they gave us the parameters already. They said like it was at, I don't know, 30 degrees and this velocity, and the mountain was this high. And they were asking, is it going to hit the city or not? And the answer to the question was no, it's going to hit the mountainside because the mountain's too tall. But I pointed out, because this angle that they gave, the elevation was the same, right? The city was at sea level. And the angle that they gave for the projectile was less than 45 degrees. And I had already like looked at the equations and figured out myself that at equal level elevation, the range is symmetric across 45 degrees. So I raised my hand and I was like, well, actually, they could change their angle to 60 degrees, have a taller parabola, and still hit the city. You know, they could get over the mountain that way. And it took the teacher a a minute to figure out that I was correct. I think it really caught her off guard. But she eventually did realize I was correct.
Now, of course, that's kind of idealized.
Yeah, of course.
All right, because that's not the way projectiles go. You know, there's a change in velocity due to air resistance as it goes. So what happens is it goes out and raises gradually, and then it drops suddenly, kind of like a baseball. So it kind of, it goes on out and then it bloops down. But yeah, you can figure that out. That's a calculus issue. But
yeah, this was just high school physics. We weren't into calculus yet.
but doing it right involves calculus. But that's not a big deal. Your concept is correct. What happens is, assuming you have sufficient velocity in the gun to reach the apex of that arc, it'll fall down on the other side. And as long as the apex of that arc is higher than the mountain, it'll clear the mountain and then it'll come down to the other side.
Yeah.
So if the apex of your arc is right over the mountain, in this idealized situation, so you aim up and you put sufficient powder behind it to reach the apex of the mountain right over that, it'll fall on the other side of the mountain the same distance as your ship from the mountain peak. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Of course, it's not exactly like that because of the curve's not the same. It's not a symmetrical curve, but it's close enough.
We got a guest request from the professional. You up for another guest, Bob?
Is his name Leon?
I don't know. It just says the professional.
Well, it depends. If it's Leon the professional, I'm going to get a little nervous about it. But otherwise, we'll just deal with the professional.
All right.
Oh, God, it is Leon the professional.
You're right. You're forgetting about gravity and air resistance.
No, I didn't. I specifically mentioned it.
Hey, man, I'm not here to argue with you.
How did I invite Iron Horse up here? What happened?
No, I did mention air resistance specifically, and that's why why the arc isn't symmetrical in real life, and why you have to use calculus to do it.
Well, what if it's raining?
What if it is? Oh, by the way, Iron Horse, after claiming that you won't come up because I'll run away. Who ran away, you little wimp?
Oh, wait. Okay. I kicked Iron Horse because I was like, I saw him in here and was like, wait, I didn't invite him. How did he get in here? So, did one of my mods invite him? I'm sorry. I guess I should coordinate with you guys better.
No, he was talking a big game until he actually got tossed up here in a box, and then all of a sudden he ran like a little girl.
So, are those flat earthers? Iron Horse
Iron Horse
and
is, yeah. So what
what
happened
about
to
the
Leon, man?
professional?
He asked me about rain, and I wanted to know what he thought would happen with rain.
I did not kick Leon. I only kicked Iron Horse.
Yeah, I don't know why. No,
So,
he like asked a question and then left.
okay, so I mean, I see End of Days saying bring up Iron Horse. Iron Horse, does Iron Horse even want to be in here? Because uh, if he does, he's welcome now. Sorry for kicking you, Iron Horse. I guess I'll invite him, and he can just decline it if he wants.
Yeah, I'm really not interested in talking with this idiot science from Freddie, but Iron Horse is all right. I don't mind talking with him.
Iron Horse, are you saying it was rude that I kicked you? I'm sorry. I just got confused about what the situation was, and I didn't know how you ended up in the live. I'm sorry. Oh well. If he's not going to forgive us, then oh well. Too bad. Science was rich. Bob has no answer. No answer to what? What was even posed? Whether or not his radio. What was that guy driving at anyway? That you were calling him Leon. Was he trying to say that we were that our physics concepts were wrong somehow?
No, I mean the first thing he said was I didn't take into account air resistance, and as you recall, I specifically did talk about air resistance,
Yeah,
and he
it's like he
pointed that
wasn't even
out.
paying attention.
Yeah, and then he said, "Well, I don't want to argue with you." Okay, well, that's fine. And then he said, "What about what if it's raining?" And I said, "What if it is?" Waiting for him to
So
follow through on that thought, and then he left.
is I don't want to argue with you. That almost sounds like he's saying he wants to make criticisms with impunity.
Well, no, I think that there was just a miscommunication of somehow. I mean, he did bring up the point of air resistance, which is valid. I don't think he realized that I specifically addressed it.
Okay, that's weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that was even about. He's welcome to
All
come
right,
back up
well,
and finish his thought. I'd like to hear what his thought on the rain is.
yeah, seems like Iron Horse is not willing. I don't see Leon being willing either. So
That's fine.
anybody else wants to join, it's fair game now.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good question. I'm just trying to figure out why he thought it was a good question.
All right, we got a guest request from Sergio Evidal. I probably butchered that.
Hello.
Hi, how's it going?
It's going good. I'm
Oh.
glad that you are more serious than the other guys. I like to talk about science anytime. So, yeah, I'm here.
Well,
I got interested
welcome.
with the parabolic problem.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I understand that you first started with like the very basic high school problem, and then you start to consider like air resistance and even air resistance and then rain. And I was actually wondering about rain, because I guess you would consider the density first for air resistance, but what would you do in case of rain? It's like,
It's a good question.
I mean,
Would
it's a kind of resistance, right? But how? So yeah, I was wondering. I was thinking about it.
would rain increase the air resistance?
Yeah, definitely. But how
Okay.
would you calculate that? Because air resistance, you could just do calculate by calculating density, right? Um, but rain, I guess you could.
Rain is something in the air that actually adds resistance. But looking back at like for example the manuals for a 16-inch naval rifle from an Iowa class battleship when you look at the firing tables for that, there are a number of factors that are included in that. Rotation of the Earth, curve of the Earth, air density, via barometric pressure and temperature. I don't recall any correction factor for rain, though.
That's interesting.
Would this be just a hand rifle, like not like
No,
heavy
no.
artillery from a ship or something? So
No,
probably
a 16-inch naval rifle is the main batteries of the Iowa class battleship. It's a 16-inch piece of artillery. It's
Oh,
called a
so
naval rifle because it's rifled. And
oh,
it's on
okay.
a
So
ship.
we are talking about some like a projectile this wide.
Yeah, we're talking about throwing microwaves, or more likely,
Okay.
probably engine blocks. Now, the other thing you have to consider is time of flight, which comes into account with Coriolis and things like that as well. Now, at max range, a 16-inch naval rifle time of flight is 84 seconds. So, it is really, it's a very interesting problem, and that's one of the reasons they developed the early tube computers in the 40s, was to try and calculate these fire tables, these firing tables. Now, I've got a slide rule upstairs that helps me calculate the barrel, the tube angle, and some other parameters for a 105 millimeter howitzer and 155 millimeter howitzer. And, that's a lot simpler, but you're also dealing with a lot shorter time of flight, something on the order of 15 seconds, as I recall. How long did it take time of flight for a 155 millimeter howitzer, as I recall, is something on the order of 15 to 25 seconds. And on a 16-inch gun, it's like 84 seconds.
I saw Iron Horse say, does the rain account for Coriolis effect? Rain doesn't account for anything. It just is a particle of water that just, it just rains. So, I mean, it is affected by the Coriolis effect. Notice how hurricanes,
the clouds the rains come from are affected because they're windblown and they're moving.
I mean, the wind patterns are affected by Coriolis, but rain goes downward, so it's not affected by Coriolis.
Yeah. In order for Coriolis to have an effect, you need to move across the surface. So if you have rain coming straight down, there's no Coriolis effect with that. But these flurfs out in the audience, all they want to do is ask stupid questions and just demonstrate blatant misunderstanding of what we're talking about and play word games.
I got a guest request from Slap a Wombat. Are you a flat earther, Slap a Wombat?
Slap a Wombat? They're cute.
If he's a flat earther, I might ask that we kind of wrap up the discussion of projectiles, if that's okay.
And if you want to let Sergio, who's not a common guest here, if you want, I'll come down for a minute or two and just let Sergio have a chat with him. Or I'll sit here.
That's very kind of you, Bob. Thank you.
What
do you think, Sergio?
Oh, I'm okay with any decision. I'm running my code, so I'm doing anything, so I don't care.
Do you want me to go down, or do you just want me to go on mute?
I guess you could just go on mute, and I'll invite up Slap a Wombat, and we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I won't go off unless you ask me to.
What's up, y'all?
All right. How's it going?
So I have undisputable proof that the Earth is flat. All right.
All right. So, hold on. Do you agree to abide by my rules?
Yep. Oh, absolutely.
All right. Now, I want to set expectations here, right? Nobody's going to convince anybody else, probably. That would be very extraordinary.
Oh, that's
so let's try to. I've had a lot of flat earthers that try to just kind of um, try to convince people, and that's probably not going to happen. So, yeah. With that
Okay.
understanding, proceed.
All right. How much of the Earth is water?
I think it's like 71% or something.
Right. So the
And
majority of
surface?
the Earth is in fact water, correct?
Well, not the majority of its mass. The majority of its surface is covered by
The
water.
majority of the surface. How much of that water is carbonated?
Oh my gosh. I saw this on TikTok.
Yes. The Earth is flat.
And I was taking you all seriously, asking if you're going to abide by the rules. And you were just leading me along. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, no, I
Just
definitely
going
believe in
for
globe Earth.
Good one. All right. Well, I guess you slapped this wombat. Yep.
Well, I actually was enjoying more the science discussion.
I'm sorry, Sergio. Oh, Richard P says, "What's the joke?" He was gonna say, because it's not carbonated, therefore it's flat.
Yeah, I understand that.
It's
Like-
a pun.
Like soda.
He's just kidding around. Don't worry, there'll be some decent stuff here. Appreciate you having me here.
So do you want to speak about something while we wait?
I mean, we can go back to
Uh,
the gun topic because I have a degree in ballistics. So
Well,
Oh,
I
really?
do want to say, I appreciate everybody who's like respectful toward this preference of mine. I know it can mean less interesting conversation sometimes, but I do have a personal preference of keeping the number of guests in my live to like one or two. So we're already a little over that. I have another guest request right now from
Oh,
Hobbs.
I can leave. That's fine. That's fine. I will.
It's literally just me wanting to limit the amount of stimulation on my brain. So
Yeah, if
it's
the
not
number
personal to
decrease-
anyone.
If the number decrease, I might be back, but I can leave. So have a nice one.
Thank you so much, Sergio. You've been great. And
Guy.
so anything else you want to share or slap a wombat before?
no.
Hobbs. Looks like we lost Hobbs.
I was just kind of hoping to stay in debate.
Okay, like debate a flat earther.
Yeah, absolutely.
You okay with keeping the back seat, Bob?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate everybody's. Our guest request is Iron Horse. Everybody okay with that?
I'm fine.
All right. Here we go. Iron Horse, you gonna abide by the rules?
Yeah, what do you mean everybody okay with that? Of course I abide by the rules, but I'm not here to be talked over or dictated over.
Well, I've had many guests who were not willing to abide by the rules, even when they said they were. So I try to ask just in case.
That's fine, mate.
Um,
I'll be polite, but yep, I'm not going to be bullied or, pushed around.
Well, I try not to do that. Yeah. I try not
That's cool.
to.
That's cool.
bully and
Now, I'm
push
happy
around.
to answer as many questions as Globers need to understand that we live on a stationary planar Earth and that everything we see revolves around above us. So, yeah.
All right. So I suppose you say that the sun stays above the Earth 24/7, 365?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it goes around the
right.
equator, which is a very
So you have a.
massive circle. So it's about 25,000 miles on average.
So you have what I would classify as a Robothemist cosmology, descended ultimately from Samuel Robotham, who invented it in 1849, if I'm correct.
Well, I'm not familiar
Flat
with
Earth
the
Society.
cosmology, but yeah, that sounds reasonable.
It is my understanding / belief. You may disagree, but it's my understanding that no flat Earth cosmology prior to Samuel Robotham's ever in the history of the world believed that the sun stayed above the Earth 24/7, 365. Because when the sun sets, it appears to go below eye level. Do you agree or disagree that that's what it appears to do?
Yeah, no, absolutely, I agree. I take videos of it every day. It appears to go beneath the horizon, which is at eye level. Yeah, absolutely. That's how
All right,
perspective
so
works.
what's your explanation for why it appears to do that on a flat Earth?
For the very same reason that the ground itself appears to rise up to eye level, the ground creates an obscurity point, whereas the sky, converging downwards towards eye level, we can see through it for much further than we can see through the ground. So because we can see through the air, we're going to see the sun disappear so far till eventually it will disappear into the convergence point until we can no longer see it. And then the light gradually fades and dims as well. But you never see a shadow cast up from the horizon, as multiple of my videos that I've recently been uploading prove every time.
So you're saying the sun does something like this, basically.
Sorta, yeah, but it's way higher. So it's going to go down at a much steeper convergence point. Like you can see how you watch how the head is going down much steeper than the feet. If you watch the head, that's sort of more like what the sun is doing.
Okay, but I mean, if I
So,
were to emulate that with a flashlight, all I would have to do is actually step a little bit over so I was closer toward the camera when I did this.
I say
And
using
it would have
you're
the same
using the
effect.
flashlight as the example of the sun. Is that
so
Yeah.
what you're saying is that the sun has an arced curve of travel.
no? It's all parallel. Oh well, it's going around the equator, of course, but yeah, but it's such a huge arc that you barely notice.
Okay, well, what if I told you that I have experimentally proven you wrong?
Oh, well, I'm sure you've got an opinion, but I bet you can't.
No, this is proof. So this is the time lapse I took, and let me explain what you're seeing here. This is the
Why did it
same
get
view.
smaller? It seemed to get smaller.
Now, slow down. Let me explain what you're seeing, please. Let me explain what I recorded with my cameras. And then we can debate about the interpretation. So this is on the left and right here, you're seeing two shots of the same sunset time lapse. And I can show you like that's a picture of the two cameras. They're
Okay,
that
so
close together.
I didn't realize. Yep, I thought you had a day and night shot going. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's the exact same time lapse, and that's why I put them side by side. The only difference is that one of them had a filter on it so that you could see the size of the sun more clearly.
Okay. Is
Because
there any reason why
it's
the line is slanted? Like, couldn't it just be straight upright?
only because that's the direction the sun goes in this time lapse.
Oh, okay,
I was
so it's going
facing
around in a
west,
circle
and I
above
was
us.
at roughly 40 odd degrees north of the equator, and this was in May 2019. So
Okay.
given those conditions, the sun was slanting north as it was setting.
Okay, so as though it's going around in a big arc around above us. Gotcha. Cool.
Well, if I was south of the equator, it would slant left. But that's a different
But you weren't.
that's a different discussion. Anyway, so as you can see on the right, the size change is nowhere near as dramatic as on the left.
No, because you've eliminated a lot of the glare.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's still some.
Glare provides
some.
a very deceptive indicator for the size of the sun.
I agree.
So
I agree.
Great. Now let me show you an analysis I did on this footage. What I did here was I took the time lapse. It was already compressed to a shorter length and rendered at like 30 frames a second. And then I took basically every single 10 frames, like an interval of every 10th frame I took and overlaid. So I got a result like this. What this does is it kind of helps us gauge the speed that the sun traveled through the sky, right? And notice,
Yep.
if you measure the distance between the center points of two adjacent suns down here and up here, even though the glare still makes it look a little bit of a different size, the distance between intervals is still the same. This is a linear motion.
Yeah, but you do also realize though that you're still only seeing a fraction of the actual path that the sun is taking throughout its entire
Obviously, but
24
this
hours.
is, I mean, this is 30 degrees above the horizon. It's a substantial portion of the day.
From your
It's not,
perspective, it's only 30 degrees, but it's always parallel to the ground, so that 30 degrees is sort of meaningless.
I'm saying it was a 30 degrees above the horizon.
From your
So,
perspective.
I mean, you
Yeah.
may say, you may have a belief that its motion is parallel to the ground, but that has nothing to do with what I just said.
No, no,
It's
it's just
measured.
your visual view of it makes it appear to be 30 degrees above the ground, but it's always going to be parallel to it.
I wasn't
regardless.
even making a statement about what direction it was moving in physical space.
Well,
I was
no, you
making a
said 30
statement.
degrees above your horizon. Okay. So that's from your perspective, that's what it looks like. But from another person who might be several thousand miles away, it might be 90 degrees above their horizon. It's still going to be parallel to the ground. It's, you know, it's all personal perspective. Everything is personal perspective. Everything is first person.
Okay, well, if you do the same thing that I did on any object moving away from the camera, what you're going to have is two things. The size of the object is going to get dramatically smaller as it gets farther away, and the interval in this composite is going to shrink. And I don't mean a little bit. Look at this massive difference.
Okay, but you're
between
talking
interval
about something
distances.
that's really, really close to the viewer in the first place. So every
This
time
is
it
going to happen no
every time
matter
it
what.
doubles its distance away from you, it's going to appear that way. But if you're talking about something that's already 70 miles high, as I suggest that the apparition of the sun that we see is, then by the time it reaches the 3 or 4 mile distance distance away where your horizon meets it, it hasn't had the opportunity to diminish in the same way that every time that this guy gets, 3, 4, 5, 10, 50, 20 times further away from you, he's getting further and further all in your image. And if you really zoom in on those last few lights, each and every one of them actually appears to be about almost identical in size. They haven't really changed that much at all anyway, because the further away a light source gets, the light itself does not shrink. So the light that's still going to reach your eye or the camera is still going to appear roughly the same size at a certain distance. It's only when it's really close that you notice that diminution happen.
All right, well, slow down because you're saying a lot of things, and most of what you're saying does not make sense to me.
It's all one thing.
Let's focus on this point, if I may. You said that this principle that I'm showing you of the interval between images changing so dramatically in distance, so that the object is slowing down in our perspective as it gets farther away.
Until a certain point, you can see the point where it reaches where they don't seem to change size at all.
Yeah, so it's going to follow an arctangent function. That's the ultimate lesson here. And it's going to follow that arctangent function no matter how big or how far away it is. This is just pure.
Like the appearance of your body, for example, is shrinking massively from one to the next, but the light itself in the far distance reaches a certain point and they all stay about the same. They barely.
I'm not sure that you're understanding the point that I'm trying to make here.
I don't.
So,
no.
All right, so let me try to clarify. In the real time lapse of the sun that I took, the motion of the sun from the top of the frame when the camera was fully zoomed out is linear. Okay, so I can drag the slider a quarter of the way, and the sun moves a quarter of the way. It's linear. It's a proportional change.
Well, you can see already see that it hasn't even compared to, say, the size of the body that changed in those previous images you showed.
Well, let me finish my point,
half
please.
the size once it reaches just the next point.
Can I finish what I was saying, please?
Yep. Definitely.
So the end of the time lapse is about here, and I left some space in the video for just staring at this. But if you take like half of that, the sun is halfway through its path. If you take a quarter, it's a quarter of the way through its path because it's a proportional change. That it's a linear motion.
It's not. That's the point you're completely missing. It's only proportional to the distance from the viewer. It hasn't doubled its distance from you each single time.
Listen,
That's
I'm not talking about the sun's physical. I'm not talking about the sun's physical situation right now. I'm talking about the direct observation. Okay. So can we agree that the direct observation is a proportional change because it moves at a linear rate across the screen?
Yes, but it's not doubling its distance every single time is the point I'm trying to say. It's
Okay.
already sufficiently far enough away that however far it travels, it's not going to change in size. That's
Okay,
the
well,
point.
I'm still trying to get to the point where I can explain to you why what you're saying does not make sense. So please bear with me.
Right, yeah. Bearing with you.
If we take this example, which I contend to you, this principle that I'm about to show you will apply even if this was, I mean, if this was an object that was 1,000,000 miles away and 1,000 miles wide or something like that, you know, whatever proportion away, farther away and bigger it would have to be, all of this same stuff would apply.
Okay, but you know that it's not. You know that you've just walked past.
Well, yeah,
the
obviously
camera and
this
your
is
body
just a
shrinking
flashlight on a
so
bridge. It's
dramatically, but the light itself is not shrinking in proportion with the way the body is shrinking.
It actually is.
The light is actually staying pretty much close to the same size, while the
No,
body
it's
is
really
gone from,
not.
like, the body's gone from filling the whole screen. Like it fills more than the whole screen there, and the light doesn't.
Yeah, okay.
And
So
then
the light
half the screen,
is,
a quarter of the screen, a tenth of the screen, but the light is still roughly the same size, man.
you're getting distracted by something I was not even trying to talk about, and also by the fact that there is
Actually,
glare
you're
on the
just
flashlight.
denying the fact that I am disproving your point because light itself
No,
does
what
not
you're saying
shrink.
is not even
But your
related to my
body
point. You haven't let me finish making it.
Well,
Listen,
okay.
please.
I'm listening.
Listen.
I'm listening.
Okay, so the end of this time lapse is right about here. So notice where my playhead is on this play bar. That's the end of the time lapse. If I roll back to halfway, oh, look, the light is actually so close to the end that we can barely tell the difference. If I roll back to a fourth of the way, it's still almost at the end. It only occupies this region of the image for like the first, what, 2% of the
Where's your
time?
head? Look at your head. It's filling right up the top of the screen.
It doesn't matter. What I'm trying to show you is that this is
way, way, way higher than your head. So the higher something is, the more steep the angle of its convergence is going to appear to be as it moves away from you. Just like your
That's
head.
nonsense.
It's
That's sheer
Your
nonsense.
head, you just watched your head doing it, and all you're doing is focusing on the light. You're not paying any attention to what's actually happening.
We see in angles.
Way, way, way
Okay.
higher than your head. The higher something is, it's still going to reach the same convergence point to your point of view because everything converges at the horizon.
All right.
Which is
All right,
eye
Norris,
level.
I am pretty confident you're just not listening at all.
I'm pretty confident you're not listening at all. I'm just trying to make it simple for you, but you're not listening to me. You just showed how your own head went from really high from the top of the screen down while your light, which is almost at camera level, barely moved at all. And
yeah, it's irrelevant, and I'm trying to tell you why, but you won't listen. What you're saying does not make sense. This is basic trigonometry. Okay, so we see in angles, not sizes. Do you agree?
Do we see in angles, not sizes?
Correct.
No, I don't agree with that at all. What we see is what we see, and something further away will appear smaller. It's got nothing to do with angles. It's just
it's got everything to do with angles.
Well, it's got something.
So what you're talking about is like this, okay? So if you have an object of constant size, you know, it starts out in this red spot and then it moves to the green, then the blue. It's getting farther away at constant size, so the angle we see will get smaller. The
Sure,
angular
angular
size
size.
will
Yeah,
get
okay.
will get smaller. So we see in angles, not size.
But you just said angular size. You can't sort of dismiss size because that is what you're talking about.
I'm not
Angular size
dismissing
is angular
size
size.
by using the term angular size.
Yeah, I mean, you can put your hand in front of your face and it will appear really big, and then you
Yes,
draw it away at arm's length and it appears quite small. The size of your hand hasn't changed. It's angular
right.
size.
You're saying the physical size hasn't changed. The angular size has. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah. So it
So we
is
see an
angular.
angular size, not physical size.
Gotcha.
So going back to this side, this this stick figure in this scenario, he sees this object as a certain angular size. Now, he does not know inherently whether the object is here and this big, or here and this big, or here and this big, because he can't see physical size, he only sees angular size, the inner angle of these right triangles right here.
Actually, I think that's false because the closer something is, the larger it appears.
Yeah, that's because that's if you control for size. I'm saying if all you know is the angle, the angle, then you don't know the physical size. It's a matter of a 3-variable equation. Tangent of theta equals radius over distance. You're saying like, okay, if we keep radius the same and change the distance, then angle's going to change. Yes, obviously, that's what I'm demonstrating here. But if we keep the angle the same, that tells us the ratio of the radius to the distance. It's a 3-variable equation, and it always, always, always applies in perspective. There is no situation where this does not apply. None.
That diagram just makes no sense to me whatsoever. Why would my thumb appear bigger than a mountain in the distance?
Because it gives a different ratio of radius to distance. So if your thumb has a certain radius and you decrease the distance, you see what happens to a fraction if you decrease the numerator here? Or I'm sorry, the denominator. The value under the fraction bar. It makes the overall value of the fraction get larger. Okay, which means your angle will be larger. So
Well, okay, so so basically everything can be summed down to be perspective. It's all due to the eye of the
yes,
viewer.
and the
first person
perspective always obeys this exact law.
Exact?
Yes, exact. Except for factors like atmospheric refraction or small factors like that. But it's, I mean,
Okay, can you
except for
actually explain atmospheric refraction? Because I don't mean to get off topic if you wanted to talk about something else, but you just brought up atmospheric refraction. And
well, that is a bit more of a complicated topic, and I was hoping that we could at least come to a point of understanding on this first, because this is,
sure.
baby steps.
That's why I said, we don't have to diverge. Let's keep going. Okay.
So, are we in agreement on this, though?
I'm still not entirely sure what you're saying.
I'm going to accept Black Knight. He's requesting.
All I can say is that things don't have to be that much further away from me before they appear much, much smaller than they would be if they were closer. But once a thing reaches a certain distance away, it doesn't seem to change very much.
All right. Well, it
especially
seems
if it
like
crosses my field of view.
it seems like we're having some trouble with the math, but I can assure you that the math is absolutely undeniable, and my evidence here completely proves that the sun is not moving away from us to set.
I actually don't think we even began on any math, to be honest. But as you showed with your
Did you
example,
just say
of
we
you
can't
walking
use
away with
math?
the flashlight itself,
No, he said we didn't begin on
Hey,
math.
Peter.
once it reached a certain distance away, stayed the same size for a much, much further proportion of the image if you put into a single image than it did as it got away from you from being close to further away.
Hey, Peter.
I proved this with mathematical principles, and you didn't understand.
Yeah, Peter, I've got to go take an exam real quick. You've got Black Knight here. Yeah, don't
Take it easy,
go
bud.
down the rabbit hole of trying to talk about refraction with somebody that can't even comprehend angular size yet.
All right. Well, thank you, Bob. Have a good night.
Take care. I'll be back later.
Good night, Bobby.
You know what? I'm going against Bob's advice. I'm having relationship problems right now. Best thing to do, take it out on flat earthers. Yeah, so your whole argument
no.
of, oh yeah, I don't understand the math.
I'm sorry your boyfriend left you.
Absolutely dumb. I'm just saying it.
Well, don't make things too ugly here, Black Knight.
I won't make it too ugly, but like, if something dumb is said, I will say it's dumb.
All right. Well, you've been mostly respectful so far, Iron Horse, so I want to thank you for that. I don't know if there's anything else for us to talk about if we can't get past this. Because I did show you a mathematical principle. And
Well, you showed me a principle, but as I said to you as well, that as the light got further and further away, it did not appear to diminish. And you've also got the whole part about light diffusion. I don't know if you've ever seen some, say, long-distance laser experiments that a lot of flat earthers have tried to do.
Yeah,
So
I
they'll try and
performed
throw a
them
laser across
for
a big
labs.
lake. And what happens is when it hits the board at the other side is that the laser light is no longer a single point. It appears to be a massive, big sort of, like ball of light. And that's what light will do. It will do that diffusion over a particular distance. So as we
actually, I think that's
looking at
probably
the
just
sun.
an imprecision in the laser, not because of diffusion.
No, but what happens is light itself just spreads out through the atmosphere.
No,
It's
it
just
doesn't
real
always
good.
do that. The laser is not
It
perfectly
pretty much
collimated,
does.
so
You
so
can
the
see it in
rays
any
are diverging.
spotlight. It doesn't have to be a laser. It can be any sort of light. Is light just diffuses from its source. That's why we have light bulbs.
Not
They
all
all
the
do the
time,
same sort of
bro.
thing. But the
You can
laser
put it
is just
under
a more
certain
focused
conditions in
form
which
of
it
light.
won't.
The
You can
laser
put
is
it
just a
under
more
certain conditions
focused
in
sort
which
of
it
light,
won't.
but
That was
that's
the
just an
whole
example.
point of a laser. That's why lasers were invented. Is because like their whole point is so they don't do that very much. When you take a laser and it spreads out, it's spreading out due to what Peter is talking about. That's what's going on. It is not diffusing all that much.
It's actually what I'm talking about as well. And so when the sun
No,
is like
it's not.
thousands of miles
I have
away,
the
seeing through
exact
much
same
and much
experiments that
more
you've been talking
atmosphere.
about with the long distance laser experiments. I have to do those for labs. I have worked with these lasers. I have performed these
So we're
experiments.
talking about a few miles compared to thousands of miles of what the sun is coming through the atmosphere, and that's why the sun doesn't appear to shrink to most people's normal point of view. But if you actually analyze it forensically, you will see the sun actually does shrink.
What does
Forensically?
forensics mean? What does
Yeah.
forensics mean?
It means clinical analysis.
No,
Oh, so you're
forensics
taking a
is
clinical analysis. So you're taking the sun. Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you really clinically analyze the size of the sun, you will see it will appear smaller at sunrise and smaller at sunset than it actually does in the middle of the day.
okay.
But
That's just
it doesn't
completely
change
false.
size.
I'm calling you
This
out on
is-
that. That's completely false. The
Oh,
sun's
I've got
angular
evidence.
size never changes.
It does.
He's
It's been
Bro.
proven.
It does not. If
It's
you measure
been
the solar
forensically
disk,
analyzed, and you've even shown it in that image there yourself. You can see
it's
it
not
getting smaller and
changing
smaller.
sizes. Holy
what you're
shit.
seeing here is a slight amount of glare because I had the camera at a
Yes,
constant
but
exposure setting.
how else are we seeing if not seeing through glare? We always see through glare. So most people have not forensically analyzed it. They just assume
Yeah,
it's the
not
same size
forensic
but between
analysis.
from sunrise to sunset. They just haven't really thought about it. But when you really, really look at it, it actually does change size.
So-
It does not.
It does.
It absolutely 100% does not. And
It
I am
absolutely
telling you,
100%
as a
does.
person who has measured the edge of the solar disk, I actually have.
Have you done
You
it
know,
from
this is
sunrise through to midday and then to sunset again? Have you done that?
He
No, you
just
haven't.
showed you that.
No, he hasn't.
I
Yes, he did.
And how do you know though? What are you comparing it against? If you
Oh
use,
my god, he
if you
just
start
had it
zooming in
up.
on it, then you're using a different
yeah.
what,
I don't measure
call it?
angular size by measuring pixels in a photograph. That's a flat Earth tactic, not a Glober tactic. Okay, angular size is angular size, and I know how to measure that.
Yeah, so
I
you have
did
to
it
use the
here.
same focal length of your lens the whole time. You can't change it. And if you
Iron
did
Horse, can
it
I
Right.
ask
from sunrise
you a
to
question?
sunset, you will notice there is a size difference. It's not big,
There
but
isn't.
Iron Horse, I have a question. Did you take geometry class?
I excelled at maths when I was at school,
Oh,
and geometry
okay.
is one of my
So,
favorites. I loved it.
so if you excelled at geometry, then you should know exactly what Peter's talking about then, because the UK's and maybe it has changed, but the curriculum for geometry, one of the first things that is talked about, this is right after constructions, are angles and perspective. So if you don't know what Peter's talking about, that means you probably didn't take a geometry class.
No, the thing is, most geometry is actually two-dimensional, and reality is three-dimensional. And
We
you
can take a
cannot
cross section
use
of three-dimensional reality to analyze it
no, you
most of the
cannot
time.
use simple
What?
geometry to analyze 3D realities. It simply
Yes,
doesn't
you
work.
can.
Yes,
Because
you can.
we've
Yes,
got
you
more and
can.
less space existing in less and less visible area.
Math
Bro,
It
is
just doesn't
all about trying to find the correct way to simplify and reduce real life situations into applicable math. And
It
if you
might
have the
work
right
up to
methodology, you absolutely can do that.
it might
And that
work
is
for a
exactly.
small area, mate. It might work up for a few miles. It might even work up to 100
No,
miles.
it's not
But
about
once you
how
go
many
beyond 100
miles the
miles,
area is.
what's
Look,
that?
do you know why I had both a compass and sextant here?
I've got no idea what you're doing here.
It's because it was in 3D space. I accounted for that. Do you understand how a
sextant?
compass and sextant can account for the 3D position of the sun?
No, it cannot. Because it wouldn't
It
matter if
can.
the sun, you can't tell if the sun is 300 miles or 3,000
It
miles
doesn't
or 3
matter.
million miles.
It
It
doesn't
does
matter.
matter.
You can measure its azimuth and its altitude above your horizon, and you can measure its angular size.
You can't if you don't know the distance of it.
hold
No.
on.
What are you talking about?
Iron Horse.
Okay, that
hold
just
on.
proved
So,
that either you did not understand the concepts that you took in geometry or you did not take geometry, because what you just said is
But,
wrong and nonsensical.
but we've just
so
talked
okay,
about perspective and how things shrink in
I,
the distance, and now you're trying to
Iron
say it
Horse.
doesn't matter if they don't shrink or they do shrink. If they stay the same size, you think, well, they must be the same distance away. So you've just
Iron
proved it's
Horse.
a nearby local sun.
Iron Horse, you flat earthers love experiments, right? Let's do a quick experiment. I'm going to ask you something about geometry. This is very basic. And if you get it wrong, you're basically proving that you have no idea what you're talking about.
What's this got to do? That's not an experiment.
I am testing your knowledge on geometry because you've said multiple times you excelled at geometry and you're showing us that you haven't. So I'm just going to ask you a couple questions just to make sure.
I was talking about in the 3rd grade, but yeah, go ahead.
Oh, in the 3rd grade. Okay. Yeah. What is a radian?
A radian? Like, as in, like the radius of a circle?
Nope.
Oh no.
What is a radian?
That was a great question, Black Knight.
Well, look, just let me inform you. I'm 52 years old, and when I was in 3rd grade, I was about 7. So
yeah, you don't learn this in the 3rd grade. You learn this in a high school geometry class. So this is after the class where you're talking about like this is a square, this is a rectangle. This is the class where we're examining angles and this problem that Peter has showing you, right? So tell me what a radian is.
You can show me an example of a radian, and I can tell you how it
lost.
works. You can show me an example, and I can explain to you.
Actually, no, I'm going to go on to a different question. How many degrees is in a triangle?
All of them.
What? Excuse me?
Are you talking about a circular triangle? Like
All right.
some
Well,
you guys have
Triangles aren't
triangular
circular.
excess.
I do want to say here, I want to slightly intervene and say I don't really prefer to use my live to make flat earthers appear foolish. Okay, that's not something that I want to do on my live. That being said, Iron Horse, you are making it very, very, very tempting for Black Knight to try to make you appear foolish because
I know.
you, I mean, quite frankly,
Somebody
you
once
are.
asked me what is 2 squared, and it's like, you've got to be kidding me. What is 2
Well, what
squared?
is
Ask me
2 squared?
what is 15 squared? That would be a more challenging sort of thing, you know? Come on. Yeah.
Well,
Okay, so
you failed a couple of questions that Black Knight has asked you already, which I think some people here would find absolutely
Because
trivial.
I don't understand the word radian, because it's not something I use in my everyday life. I know what a radius is. I know that a
Okay.
triangle technically has 180 degrees. I know that 2 squared is 4. And I could probably, you know, if somebody challenged me, work out that 15 squared would be, you know, 25 plus 150, 175. It's not that hard to do. It's, you know.
okay, I have one more question for you. Just one more. Is this accepting? Are you accepting this question?
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
waiting. I'm waiting because, you know, it better be a good one.
Okay. What is the main property of a radii or a radius?
The main property.
The main property.
Probably
Like an
Park Street.
example of a property is like addition is is cumulative, right? So that means like 1 plus 1 would equal 2, right? That basically just means like 1 equals 1. So what is a property, the main property of a radius?
Pi.
You just say pi?
I said pi.
No, no, it's all radii are congruent.
Look, I don't understand. I only speak English. I don't speak this pseudo language of wizardry. And
This isn't a
All right,
pseudo
well-
language of wizardry. This is
that sort of
basic
shit, you know.
geometry.
Like if,
All right,
if you put it in
Iron
English, I
Horse,
can understand it.
I think we have sufficiently kicked down the false confidence you are projecting here. You have no idea what you're talking about, and my evidence does in fact prove the sun is not moving away from us. It does go below eye level. You just don't understand why, and that's okay.
Oh,
You
I
know,
told
I'm
you why
not.
it goes below eye level, though. That's the whole point.
It goes. It doesn't go to eye level. It goes below eye level. The ground
It
doesn't rise
appears
up
to go
above eye
below
level.
eye level. It does. It absolutely does. That's the
Only if
whole
there's a
point of
hill or
perspective.
something.
The whole
That's
point of
not-
perspective is your horizon is only 3 to 4
All right.
miles away from you.
Iron Horse, we've just established you don't know what you're talking about. No offense, but
You
that, I
haven't.
mean that's just the
You've
reality.
established nothing. You've established
Yes,
that all you have
I think we
is
did
your
establish that.
classroom physics, your classroom knowledge, and you think that using clever terms to trick somebody up who understands reality as seen
It's
in
not
nature,
clever terms,
in
it's
everyday
basic math.
reality. It's not basic
Iron
math.
Horse, do you
Bro.
agree that 1 + 1 = 2?
Not necessarily.
What?
In what circumstance does 1 + 1
What?
not equal 2?
Generally, it can be 3, 4, 5, and continual. It's
In what
not
circumstance?
about 1 times 1 equals 1, but if you put a man and a woman together, you'll get a baby, and so
Yeah, I'm not talking about like
So 1 plus-
emotionally or something. I'm talking about math.
So you're talking
Right.
about things that
If
don't even have
Johnny
a
has
syllable.
1 apple and Jane gives him 1 more apple, how many apples does Johnny have?
He only has 2 apples. There you go.
All right,
So
thank you. So
now
you
you've given
believe
it the
that
standard.
do you believe that principle, that abstract principle of 1 + 1 = 2 that you just applied in my story problem, do you believe that that's true
No,
as an
because
abstract principle?
when it's abstract, you're not talking about things.
But
Once you apply
we
an
just
apple
gave
and
an
another
example
apple-
of things.
Okay,
if
but then
I
they're no
have,
longer abstract. You're using
it doesn't
abstract.
have to be abstract. The reason that we study these abstracts is because they apply manifestly in the real world. If
They
I
mean
have,
something once you
if
apply
I have,
something physical to them. Yes, then it's
if I have
correct.
one thumb drive plus one more thumb drive, that equals how many thumb drives?
That's correct. You know what you've got, 2 thumb drives. But when you
That's
say
the real
one,
world.
but no, you're saying one abstract nothing to one abstract nothing. It means
Yes,
nothing. You have to apply it to
your
something
ability
real.
to apply abstract reasoning from one situation to another is absolutely critical in understanding and studying the world around us. If you can't do that, then that explains why you're a flat earther.
No. The problem is you are trying to use abstract to describe reality. As soon as you're
Yes,
using
because
abstract, you're not
abstractions
talking
do
about
describe
reality.
reality.
They don't.
Yeah. Do you okay?
I could
Do
say
you know what an
one field.
abstraction
I
is?
could say one field of cows, of 50 cows, plus one bag of apples. Does that equal 2? No, it doesn't.
No,
That's
that's
stupid.
just
You have
You
to
are
apply it to
so.
something real and reality.
we literally
If
just
you're using
used
abstract, it's meaningless.
I'm sorry.
Iron
I
Horse.
just insulted
We
you. I'm
literally
sorry.
just demonstrated a situation right here in my hand, physically in real life, where the abstract logic manifestly applied and everyone agreed on it. Okay? And we could use that same logic in another situation that has not happened yet, and it would be correct. Okay?
So
if I like if I take a water bottle out of my refrigerator and put it on my desk, and then I go take another water bottle out and put another one on my desk, abstract logic, it
so
still works.
Okay, so
2
you
water
take one
bottles.
water bottle
hold
out of
on,
your
Peter.
fridge, and then you
I
take one
think I know
apple
what
out of your
he's.
fridge. What
I
have you
think I
got?
know why he isn't understanding. I'm gonna try and explain this in a different way. So the first law of logic is the law of identity, right? That basically means X equals X. The example that you gave, where you have one field of cows and you have one bag of apples, and by that it should equal 2. That's not what we're talking about. What you're basically
Well,
doing
hang
there
on,
is
hang
you're
on,
taking
hang on a sec.
X and you're
I,
taking Y, and you're
I
adding
just,
together
I just particularly
one
asked if
X
it's a
and
specific
one
question.
Y, and you're saying that equals 2. But
Yeah,
X and Y don't necessarily have the same value, right?
exactly.
Yes, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. The
That's my
difference
point.
is
If
that
you
we're
take out
talking
one
about
water bottle and you take out one apple,
Iron
you don't have
Horse.
2.
Iron
You
Horse.
just have
Listen to
2
me.
objects.
We are talking about 2 of the same thing. Basically, the
You
example
weren't
that
though.
Peter's
You
doing
just said
is he's
one.
talking
So
about
One
2.
nothing.
He's
if
talking about X plus X, not X plus Y.
yeah, so obviously there are limitations you have to be aware of. But the thing is, Iron Horse, if you understand that abstract logic and you understand how it applies or doesn't apply to the real world, then you can do it correctly. Okay, there's correct ways to do it and incorrect ways to do it. You're right.
I'm fine
Obviously,
with
it
that.
would be
I am absolutely
incorrect.
fine with that. So when somebody asks me what is 1 plus 1, I will just have to then say 1 what? I can't say 1 water bottle plus 1 apple equals 2 water apples, sort of thing. Like that's not how it
You're
works.
trying to deconstruct math.
Exactly.
It's silly.
Yes.
It's
Because
absolutely silly.
maths is meaningless until you apply it to something
No,
of
math
reality.
is not meaningless because it does apply to the real world. Math is a very powerful tool that God gave us to study the real world.
Iron
I mean,
Horse.
I can't believe that you're denying this right now.
Iron Horse. I just heard about something in the comments. I have another question for you. What are your thoughts on Hebrews?
Uh-oh.
Which ones? Which ones are you talking about? The ones that came from Africa?
Like, as in how
boy.
my cousin is a Hebrew, like how he's Jewish.
Oh, that's nice. That's cool.
Okay, because I just heard some very different
You
information.
do have a lot of racist people in the comment section who will say things about me because they can't stand.
We have a lot of racist people in the flat Earth community, as a matter of fact. The one
really?
you're a part of.
Do we really? I've never heard of
Yeah,
them.
Caleb, Nathan
I've never met a
Thompson,
single one.
Son of Africa. They're
Isn't
I
Son
could
of
go
Africa
on.
like a black person? Isn't he Hebrew?
Black people aren't Hebrew. What? Or they can be, but not all of them.
Oh,
Like,
okay. Yeah,
I
here
guess,
comes the
yeah, like
racist
black
one.
Jews exist.
Black Knight. Should I call you Coloured Knight now from now on?
Well, I'm not black.
A knight of many colours.
All
I'm
right, I
not
feel
black.
like
I'm referencing the Black
we're
Prince, bro.
Okay, yeah, I think
You're
you
from
should
the
change the
UK. You
subject.
should
yeah,
know what
okay.
this
So
is.
Iron Horse.
If you're going to try and pin me down as a racist, then you are the racist one.
It
So
was a
don't do that.
question. It was a simple
Yeah,
question.
no, there's a
Okay,
valid
and I've
there's a
answered it,
valid test
and
we
you
can apply
move on.
here. Iron Horse, do you agree that 6 million Jews were killed or oppressed during World War One or World War Two? I mean,
Definitely killed or oppressed. Except there was only 4 million Jews in all of Europe at the time, but yep, 6 million definitely.
Oh, okay. So there we go.
goodbye, Iron Horse.
Yep, that'll do it. So I guess the British person didn't understand my name, which is from British lore. If anyone here doesn't know, basically during the 100 Years' War, there was a knight known as the Black Knight. I can't remember if he was a British or a French knight, but he was very famous, and he was one of the most successful knights during the whole war. And it's even like, there's even like a song about him in an episode of Phineas and Ferb, right? They're like decently around in pop culture, so that's where my name comes from. No, I am not black. Okay, the Black Prince. I don't care.
Oh boy. That's too bad. We were actually having a fairly good conversation with him, even though it probably felt like a train wreck.
So, okay, I want to say something. I don't necessarily like making flat earthers feel dumb. Their beliefs are definitely dumb, but like
Oh, they are.
everyone falls for like internet scams though. Like it's happened to me even. So it's
Well, the
like
thing
it's
is,
okay.
the reason that I try to put a limit on that is not because they don't deserve it. I 100% agree with you. They do deserve to be made to look stupid. And I apologize if there are any flat earthers watching right now who, get really triggered about that, but that's my belief. You have a stupid belief, if you are a flat earther. Now, I try to be respectful about that, and that's the key. Like, it's a matter of, I guess, politely withholding certain statements that we may or may not believe to be true. Does that make sense? I don't know.
No, I definitely get what you're talking about. Like, I didn't want to make him feel stupid, but at the same time, it's like I could see where like he was getting these very basic things wrong, and he was claiming to be such an expert. So it's like to a certain to a certain point, I have to ask him like these basic questions, like what is a radian, right?
That was a good one. That was such a good one, and he immediately it's a radius.
Yeah,
All right, so for anyone who's curious, a radian is a unit of angle, just like a degree. Okay, so you know how units of length, you have inches and centimeters, right? There's different units of measure. It's the exact same thing with, portions of a circle. There are 360 degrees in a circle. Well, there are 2 pi radians in a circle. That means, pi times 2, so I guess that would be something like 6.28, right? So there are 6.28 radians in a circle. And the reason they made that unit of measure is for trigonometric convenience. It's a very convenient unit. So just to clarify, if anybody was still curious about that, if they didn't already know. But excellent question.
There's a good chance you also wouldn't learn that in a basic geometry class. When I took geometry, it was brought up though, like
there are degrees, but there are also radians. And the teacher did warn, she's like, by the way, when you guys get to like trigonometry, we're gonna work with radians more, right? But like they were still brought up, and we were still allowed to use them. It was
Oh, we
mainly
got some guest requests.
mainly to check the calculators, because every once in a while your calculator will be set to radian, and you're like, what the hell? Because you
All
just
right,
gotta
so
whack.
yeah. So Chris has been requesting before, and so I'm going to give him precedence. Also, this guy has a offensive username, so I'm not going to invite him. You got to change your username if you want to be invited, bud. We didn't get
Gross,
Chris.
calling people globetards. Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to be. I don't want my live to be reported or flagged. So, dude, you gotta change your username if you want to be in my live. I'm sorry. There's
Someone
another
just said
person
calculating is not proving. Whoever just said that has no idea what a calculation is.
All right, so we got Gabuchi.
Yeah, what's up?
How's it going?
Go to Joel 38.
What?
Yeah, go to
Did you
Joel
say Job, like with a B at the end?
Joel
Oh, Joel. Okay.
38.
Give me 1 second.
So can I ask like what the point of that is before he gets to it?
I don't think Joel doesn't have 38 chapters.
Yeah, it does.
You're saying Joel like Juliet, Oscar, Echo, Lima, Joel. It's got 3 chapters. Oh, it's not going to show. 3 chapters, and then Amos begins.
Damn. Well, I clearly fumbled that. But could somebody in the comment, right? Tell me the verse I'm talking about in Joel that talks about the flat Earth.
Are you talking about Job 38? About the earth takes shape like clay under a seal?
Hang on. I trust the comment better. Right.
That's in Job, and I've heard it before from flat earthers. It's number 1 poetry and number 2 phenomenological. So it really doesn't talk about the shape of the earth at all. In fact, it's probably talking more about the changeability of the earth than its shape. Most translations today say the earth changes like clay under the seal.
Even then though, so like, and this isn't anything offensive to you, Peter, but you can't just like bring out the Bible and be like, well, the Bible says this, because that's basically just saying that some book says a thing, right? And that's cool if you believe that book or whatever, but when we're talking about like science, like that,
I mean, I'm not even
for a reason.
Black Knight. I'm not even a Christian, bro.
Then why are you bringing it up?
I mean, Peter looked like he goes to church. I mean, look at, he's dressed like a pastor.
Okay, that's a fair
So
point.
you can tell by my shirt that I'm a Christian.
Flannels, bro. That's literally.
They know they are.
This isn't flannel. This is plaid. Is not flannel. Those aren't the same thing.
What's that one song? It's like they know we are Christians by our love. No, for they know we are Christians by our flannels.
By our drip.
Oh no.
Drip, they know we are Christians by our drip. Yeah, that's how it goes.
Okay.
But Joe, right?
Boy.
Besides the globe, have you ever rizzed up a girl?
Bro, what?
I'm married.
Peter. Are you sure? How, man? How did that happen?
I fell in love with a girl, and she fell in love with me, and we dated and married. What do you think?
All right. That's what's up. How long you been married?
Going on 3 years.
Let me guess. She's not a flat earther.
No.
Okay. So you believe your professor more than you do TikTok?
I believe a lot of things more than TikTok, but this is not about me believing a professor. In fact, I was kind of, shall we say,
Pretty good.
nonconformist in college,
You
to
get
say
your
the
news from
least.
the New York Times, don't you?
I don't know.
Do you know where I get my news?
TikTok.
Yep, the 1 minute news, yo. That's my guy. You know
Okay.
what I mean?
Oh boy.
Every time I want to know the news, he gives it to me in 1 minute. I love that guy. Um,
I mean, from
Okay.
what I remember, like the things he said are like relatively accurate because like I have to give like proper research speeches, right?
hmm
All right.
And most of the things he says like line up with what actual sources say, so he's not horrible.
So I got a couple of other requests right now. Gabuchi, anything else you want to share before I say goodnight?
have you been to space?
Well, no.
Then yeah, all right then. Then keep your opinions to yourself.
What,
Excuse me?
bruh? That
Okay.
was so random.
Wow.
Bro just came in, was like, "Have you ever rizzed up a girl?" And I'm like, "Bro, I literally caught mine cheating like yesterday. Like, please." It's a
Oh,
little soon.
ouch.
Chris, do you think the Earth is flat?
Uh,
Chris. Oh, bro's muted. Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. I didn't expect anything. Yeah, let me go grab my earbuds.
all right.
This live, I think, is one of the weirder lives I've been on in a little bit.
I don't know. We've had some doozies. There was one guy in one of my early lives who he got on and immediately we heard like this tinkling sound of water. Okay?
Oh
And
no.
like I had to like stop it. I'm like, okay, tell me you're not urinating right now. It turned out he was just outside and it was raining, but it just really sounded like that.
Bro. Okay, that's actually hilarious. That is actually hilarious. That okay, that's actually epic though. That is actually
He sounded really offended by the question too, but it's like, dude, I'm sorry. It's just what it sounded like.
Someone in the chat just said gravity is theoretical. Yeah, well there's also the law of gravity, so like maybe go back to physics class. I
It's
have okay.
theoretical in the sense that we still don't understand everything about it, but we do absolutely understand and have proven that it does work according to certain laws. That's not theoretical.
It's just as theoretical as like tulips existing is theoretical, all right?
Yeah. Uh,
You guys should go back because it's a theory. Okay, you don't know what a scientific theory is for one. Because there's the theory of gravity, right? That is like you get into like general relativity and things like that. And then there's the law of gravity, that being if you drop something, it will fall down.
so I see Globe TARD saying this is the woke channel. You know, I may have an opinion on whether that's an appropriate word, but ultimately, I am. This is literally about me not wanting my live on TikTok to get flagged. So this isn't about like. You could call TikTok woke, I guess, but anyway.
You know, Gregory, if you're so smart, why don't you come up? And you can get the same treatment that the guy who said 1 + 1 didn't equal 2 will get. All right.
Are
We'll
you
see
back yet,
just
Chris?
how we'll see how relevant you are. I'm probably being too mean. Peter, if I'm ever getting too mean, do feel free to like halt me just a little bit.
Well, I mean, I've already nudged you a few times now and then, so I think we've got kind of a routine that we can fall back on there.
Yeah.
And man, it sounds like you have a reason to be grumpy. I am so sorry to hear about that.
Okay, it wasn't. It was honestly more funny than it was like actually like upsetting. It's just like the way that I found out. I'm not gonna go into details. It was very funny. It was very funny.
What were things already headed in a bad direction for a long time before this? Like,
Oh
had
no,
you already kind of?
no. It was like okay. Basically, a funny so where I am living is not in the same town where I go to college, right? And basically, it's like me and some college buddies are like renting a house, and she
Yeah.
just so happened to like live there. And it was basically like her like trying to like change the locks on the house. So I like show up and I'm like, what the hell are you doing? And then it's like her and one of what I later found out was one of several other guys. It's just like, yeah, we just bought this house. What are you doing here? And I'm like, so I'm like, I kind of live here, bro.
Wow,
And
that's
a
awkward.
very
Ouch.
funny situation then ensued.
Wow. Well, I guess
I'm
it's
sorry,
maybe
dude.
a good thing that
That
you're.
sucks. I'm sorry.
Then again, to be fair, it wasn't like I owned the house. It was like me and like 6 other people decided that it would be easier on all of us if we like didn't try and like get separate apartments, especially because this is in New York, and New
Yeah.
York is way too expensive for what you get.
Yeah. Well, feel free to DM me if you ever
All right,
want
but
to
you're also valid,
chat about
and
that in a more private way.
I'd rather not, but thank you for the offer.
You don't have to. I just want to make sure you know.
Oh yeah,
That's
I'm doing fine, right?
cool.
I'm not like freaked out about it. It was like I don't know. I have this weird brain mechanic where anything that for anyone else would be like awkward is just funny, right?
I'm
So
glad you can cope that way, I guess. That's good.
in any case, Chris, is the Earth flat?
does your phone get GPS?
Yes.
Okay. I feel like that answers the question.
Okay, fantastic. I know exactly where you're getting at. No, he is not a flat earther.
All right, cool. So we got the Truth is Back requesting. Truth is Back, are you a flat earther? If he is, he or she, I don't know, then I might, ask Chris to wrap it up and say goodnight.
Honestly,
But
if Chris wants to handle it, he can. I'm probably gonna go to bed. It's like midnight.
all right, well,
Oh no!
thanks for joining,
I'll walk away,
whoever,
bro.
everyone.
I'm good.
I mean, I'm going to bed like now anyway. Like
Thank you,
Oh
Black Knight.
man,
I
I
appreciate
gotta.
your.
good luck in
You
your
ma-
endeavors.
You mind if I give a little
Flat
bit
earthers,
of
be free.
my day?
What?
Would you mind terribly if?
I can keep you on for a minute, Chris. I feel like you didn't get to share anything really because you were away for a minute. So
No,
I was just saying goodnight to Black Knight.
all I wanted to say was yeah, GPS.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, I have a truck with the Triton engine in it, and yeah, I've been working on that for a month. So
I don't know anything about cars except like vaguely how a combustion engine works. and how an electric engine works. That's about
It's
it.
a Ford. It's a Ford.
Yep.
That's. I'll mute myself.
All right. Well, if you want to chime in, I guess feel free. I'm going to invite Truth is back.
I
This might be
appreciate
my
the
last guest
gratitude.
for
Thank you.
tonight.
Well, hello.
I think I'm going to make this my last guest for tonight. How's it going? Truth is back.
How's it going? Well, um, I have a question. So, you know about the Georgia Guidestones?
I'm sorry. I'm having some trouble understanding you.
Do you know about the Georgia Guidestones?
Georgia Guidestones. I've heard of them. I feel like they were some type of linchpin for conservative values in Georgia. Is that right? Georgia Guidestones. Let's see what Wiki has to say. The Granite Monument until 2022. American Stonehenge. Why is it not saying what was on them? I'd have to probably read in more detail.
Well,
I feel
simple
like it was something to
explanation.
do with conservative values, right?
Well, it was a hole drilled in it, and it sat on Polaris year round, and it did not move like at all. And they destroyed it
Yeah, okay.
because, you know,
Okay,
it did.
somebody blew them up like 4 years ago, and they were. Yeah.
I just find it strange they destroy everything, including history, and they just get away with it, you know, to build a system where people believe only one set of beliefs. So obviously,
Well, who's they? There's a lot
Explain
of
your
different.
set of beliefs,
there's only
friend.
one day, the Freemasons, the people that are Romans, the day back, that killed God on the cross. It all ties back. The same people in power from day one to the
All right,
day that Rome
Freemasons are
died.
not responsible for all evil in our world.
Are you crazy? They have the BlackRock and Vanguard that own almost every big industry that you ever walk outside to even see.
Are
You know,
you willing to talk about science, or are you just going to talk about conspiracy theories?
I mean, they go hand in hand, but we can just say science
No, they
instead of
don't.
science.
I agree with them
Well,
I
on
feel like
what
at
if
BlackRock,
this.
conspiracy countries?
but not on the science thing.
All right, before we proceed, Truth is back. Do you believe that some 6 million Jews were killed or oppressed in World War II?
Oh yes,
You do believe that?
yes.
All right, thank you. Just had to apply that litmus test, at least for now. Given that, we can
Wait,
proceed
I'm
to
sorry.
science.
You're not.
I
You're
believe
not
history
a
has nothing to do with
Holocaust
anything.
denier, correct?
No, no. They faked a lot of stuff, but that one was it.
Okay. All right. Well, we're walking a fine line. I feel like maybe we can shy away from the subject now, as long as, um, yeah. Let's just leave that be.
Yeah. Anyway, but okay.
So, Sunset. Can I assume that you? Wait, are you a flat
Anna,
earther?
yes, Anna Lima. That's how sunsets work. We have a local
Ew,
sun, a
gross.
local moon, a greater light, and
All
a
right. So
lesser light.
you are a robothemist.
Yes.
That by that I mean you believe in the cosmology that was started by Samuel Rowbotham in 1849. He is the first person in history who ever basically claimed that the sun stays above the Earth 24/7, 365,
Huh?
above eye level, I should say.
Who told you that? This
All
has been going on for the beginning of time. What are you talking about? They only taught the globe 500 years back. Every civilization, every culture knew about the
Okay, that's
past.
completely false. Basically everything you just said
Okay,
is
well,
false.
is that like a spell
The,
image?
the idea of a globe started in like 600 BC with Pythagoras. Okay, and all ancient flat Earth cosmologies, all flat Earth cosmologies before Samuel Rowbotham believed that the sun traveled below a flat Earth. And the reason is because we see sun go below eye level. So Samuel Rowbotham decided to deny the phenomenon of sunset, which I have taken a time lapse of and put it behind me here. Like, I personally took that time lapse. I measured it with scientific instruments, and it proves that the sun goes below eye level.
Okay, could I by chance get the picture?
All right. Let's see.
That is not the big screen, but okay. Can I get the box that you're in just for one brief second?
You know, I'm a little new to TikTok Lives. I'm not actually 100% sure how to do
That is
that.
fine. Just test it out.
Expand. Is that how it? Okay.
Yes,
All
it
right.
is.
I just learned
It
how to
kind of
do
looks
it.
iffy, but you can see the three. Basically, this is just there's so many more descriptions, but there's images of different religion and it's showing the way they
Yeah, I
believe
don't
in the
see how
sun.
any of those show a robothemist local sun.
Okay, local sun by so okay, these would not do a good job of just showing the sun. Okay, I'm gonna take this off. I just want to show that it's been a thing since
Yeah,
the beginning of
obviously
time.
there were a lot of flat Earth cosmologies before 1849. I'm just saying none of them believed that the sun stayed above eye level 24/7, 365. Because
Stay
that's
above
a
eye
completely
level.
absurd claim.
Um, Not if well, you know how like you've been on a railroad track, you know how like there's lights on both sides? You have those lights, they like go closer and closer to the center and they fade into the distance. And the farther you look, if you're looking like straight directly down like the line of it, like it's right in front of you, the railroad tracks and the lights on the side. You know what I'm trying to say, the perspective. So it is above eye level because the sun has to be above you, but you know, like, it disappears because our eyes are not super strong. I mean, it's perception. I don't
All
know.
right, so I'm actually 5 years ahead of you because I recorded this 5 years ago. And this is roughly what you're describing, right?
Yes,
This is me
basically
walking down a
everything.
bridge with a flashlight. Is this like what you're describing?
Yeah, hopefully you keep walking, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah, so I walked until it disappeared, actually. But I
I mean,
want you to
yeah,
notice two
that's
things
all that
about
happens.
this. What?
So that's all that happens, except it's not, it wasn't the exact movement. The sun goes down diagonally because it's an analemma movement. It's not like straight down.
The analemma is taken at the same time of day as a time lapse across the year, so that doesn't make sense. We're talking about the sun going down during the course of one 24-hour day, right?
Over one 24-hour day, it just still goes down diagonally. It doesn't go down just straight down.
The analemma has absolutely nothing to do with the motion of the sun during
I
a
didn't say, I didn't say, I
24-hour
didn't say,
day.
I didn't say analemma for just now. I'm saying in general, the sun goes down diagonally. It doesn't just go straight down.
Okay. I mean, it does if you're on the equator, but I want to point out two things about this. Okay, so if I just press play, at first it moves very quickly, and
Mhm.
then it slows down, and slows down, and slows down, and slows down until it's basically stopped on the screen. And it continues to slow down and shrink until eventually, finally, it's so small that it's smaller than a pixel. Okay, that's how perspective works. If something is moving away from us, it slows down and it gets smaller.
Yes.
You can see it even more clearly if I overlay constant intervals like this, right? So you can see this massive distance between intervals shrinks immediately to almost
I'm really
nothing.
confused what you're showing me. I agree with you with every facet. So what's happening? Like
This
I'm
is just
agreeing
the
with you.
same time lapse, but like with frames overlaid at constant intervals so that we can see like, okay, if this is frame 1, then this is frame 11, and this is frame 21, and this is frame 31, etc. Makes sense?
I have a question though. Why was NASA underwater space agency before they switched? The underwater agency before they switched to space. My bad.
Um,
Do you know?
that's a bit off topic.
Oh no, if you don't know, that's perfectly fine.
I don't
I
know the
could just tell you.
detailed history of NASA, but I'm not
Well, I'm just saying
entirely sure that you're
the reason is they've never switched to space. They're still an underwater space agency. All their film is underwater CGI.
okay. That's
There's
false,
been
and it's off subject.
Do you not
So
know
I
the
want to stay
astronauts
on
have their
subject,
own
please.
stars on Hollywood? Only actors get stars in Hollywood. They're actors, not
You're
astronauts.
still off subject. Truth is back. Can we get back on subject, please?
Okay, back on subject. Back on subject.
All right. So this
What were
is
you
my
trying to
time
show me?
lapse of this. This is my time lapse of the sun. Now I've done the same
Yeah,
thing where I overlaid frames at constant intervals. Okay,
that's cool.
and you see two things with the This is unfiltered here, and this is the same time lapse but with a filter, so you can more easily see the actual size of the sun. Now it's still a little bit overexposed here, so it does change size a little bit because it changes brightness. But you know, the main thing I was focusing on here is speed. The sun does not change speed as it sets. Now, how on earth do you reconcile that with this?
Well, compared to the ground, you're not nearly at the same distance compared to like the sun to our ground.
It has nothing to do with distance. Every
So it doesn't have
object,
nothing to do with distance. That's crazy. But, okay.
every object, if it travels away from an observer, is going to do this. It's going to get smaller and slow down in the view of the observer. It does not matter how big it is or how far away it is. That is the law of perspective. That's what things look like when they get farther away. And that is not what the sun looks like at all.
Well, if you actually tested, the sun gets well, you're saying the sun gets smaller,
My
right?
friend, you're talking about aberration.
I have a question.
You're
You're saying the
talking
sun,
about aberration.
Chris, hold up. You're saying the sun gets smaller, right?
Sorry.
The sun does not get smaller, no.
Oh, that's
It
incorrect.
No, it
appears to get
doesn't.
smaller
That's
because it
that's
gets
incorrect.
dimmer, but if you measure the actual solar disk using a proper filter and proper camera settings, then you will see that the solar disk stays at about 0.5 degrees all day, every day, all year.
Well, we have to go to our next piece of evidence because we can't sit on this because I know people that will say with the right camera and this and that, or just a normal camera, I can show you clearly
Well,
that the
I'm
sun actually
showing
does
you
get smaller.
evidence right now.
No, I'm
This
saying I
does
know
not.
that the sun gets smaller. It actually does.
It's not evidence.
Yeah, that's
It's
hearsay. I'm
manufactured.
presenting evidence.
No, I'm saying I could show you
No,
evidence
you're
of
not presenting
people doing
evidence.
this.
You're presenting a manufactured something.
Well, what the craziest part is, what does flat earthers need to manufacture?
You're presenting a manufactured something from a camera.
I just don't understand what we manufacture.
You're presenting
Chris, are you talking to me or Truth is Back?
No, I'm sorry. Excuse me. You are presenting the classical interpretation of perspective.
I promise you the sun gets smaller. It's already been proven. But we can go to the next piece of evidence if you want. This is not
Well, that
sufficient.
wasn't even the primary point here.
What was the primary
It was
point?
a side point. The primary point is that it does not slow down as it sets, which is also a required condition for it to be traveling away from us at a constant altitude.
Wait, can you play the bottom video again?
The sun is subject to altitude. My friend, believe whatever you want. Honestly, it really does not matter where the sun is or what the sun does.
I could tell you what it is because you could have your own.
Or how you believe the shape the planet is. You believe in a firmament, whatever.
That's not whatever.
The fact of the matter is
the difference between believing in God or being low self-worth and being a slave to the matrix. That's literally the fine line to it.
Are you saying this has something to do with belief in God? Because I'm a Christian.
Most definitely. I mean, a lot of people
disagree.
claim to love you. Don't mean
oh my God, I was raised
Catholic.
Catholic.
To be Christian.
Oh.
Truth is Back. I am a Christian, and I think God would actually somewhat take offense at what you're saying.
Well, he wouldn't. It says the earth is flat in the Bible. If you don't know that, then what in the world?
It does not say that in the Bible. I have read the Bible.
It said it sits on 4 pillars like a temple.
Oh God, you're a firmament, dude.
What do you mean affirming dude? If not affirming dude, just reading the Bible. What are you talking about?
You're reading the Bible
It
wrong.
said it's a light glass. We didn't say it has no like expansion. It said a light glass dome specifically, so you wouldn't get confused and try to use your
Okay,
middle,
so
what is your
truth
logic?
is back. Let's look at a verse together, shall we?
No, you can't call it truth.
Let's look at
Wait a minute,
Matthew
what?
chapter 5, verse 45. Are you willing
Yeah,
to look at
Okay.
that with me? Truth is
let's
back.
Yeah.
get it. Yeah.
Let's look.
So it says that you may be sons of your Father who is in heaven, for he makes his sun rise on the just and the unjust. What do you think that means?
Read the scripture right above it. That scripture and the one under it.
Well, yeah, I know that he's teaching a lesson here about non-retaliation. I'm not talking about the lesson he's teaching. I'm talking about the phrase, the sun rises.
So you just told me you're not talking about the lesson, but the phrase. You have to take in the lesson. I do not take things out of context. This is what I'm trying to tell you. You cannot take scripture out of context, so I'm not allowing that
I'm
until
not
I
trying
say
to
that.
take it out of context. The context does not say one thing or another about that phrase. I'm asking you
You just
what
want to
you
say that's a
think the phrase
phrase?
means.
I'm letting you know that's he was not. Oh my God, no, he was
I'm
not talking
sorry,
about
sir.
that.
Are you trying to say that the Sermon on the Mount?
What do you say, Chris?
You're trying to use the Sermon on the Mount to paint us as sinners.
Chris, what are you talking about? I'm actually confused. What are
He
you talking
said
about?
Matthew
I'm the one who brought
5:45.
up the verse. Yeah, I'm the one who brought up that verse. And the reason I brought it up is because it puts flat earthers into a quandary. They have to either say that the verse
Tate Hib
is
1,
Bro,
yeah,
Chris, what are you
Genesis
talking about?
is Old Covenant.
Can you finish your thought, bro? Chris is like confusing me. I don't really understand what you're saying.
yeah, so the Matthew 5:45 puts flat earthers into a quandary because it does not describe a Robothemist local sun. It says the sun rises. And equally, we can look at Ephesians 4:26, which says, "Do not let the sun go down on your anger." Again, that does not describe a Robothemist local sun. It describes the sun moving up and down. Now, we can say that that's phenomenological, meaning that's how it looks to a human observer, right?
But you think they're
But
speaking of a
All right.
sun,
No,
like the
neither
sun?
of
So
these relate to astronomical phenomena.
Chris, I'm trying to teach Truth is Back a lesson in exegesis because I care about the Bible, and it makes me very angry when flat earthers try to use the Bible to support flat Earth theory.
thing is
Okay,
saying,
so
how could you be a Christian if you can even get angry? How's the demon of anger even in your heart? You know what I mean?
Wait.
I'm being serious.
Do
I
you
don't
think I'm a
get angry
flat
if I
earther?
realize I didn't love God if I was angry. But how could I do that? You know what I mean? If you actually think
Truth is
about it.
Back. It's a righteous anger that I have against flat earthers trying to use the Bible.
It's
Okay,
unrighteous because you have
Wait,
to, in
you think
order
I'm
to
a
flat, you
flat
know
earther?
God. You have to, you never in connection with God. There's a whole bunch of different ways you gotta live that you can get connection with God. You can feel Him. You're at low frequency. How? What do you mean?
I okay. Truth is Back. You're talking too fast and nobody can hear you. So,
The point is, it doesn't
Chris,
talk about flat Earth being
I'm
simple.
not sure who you're talking to. I don't think
You.
anybody here thinks you're a flat earther.
Okay, okay. Anyway, the sun going up and down. The scripture you're speaking of is not talking about a sun like the sun in the sky. So let's just make that simple as that. It's not. That's not what it's correlated to.
I can
I don't
barely
have nothing else to
understand
tell
you
you.
because you're talking faster now and you're no more clear than you've ever been while you've been on live here. So,
Can you hear me?
I mean, your voice is very
Interpret.
muffled.
Well, I apologize. Your interpretation is not correct when it comes to the sun. That's all I had to say.
Well, are you going to
Hopefully you
explain
heard that.
why my interpretation is incorrect? Because you're making an exegetical argument for a flat earth, and I just blasted a hole in your exegetical argument. And we can talk about,
So you're saying every scripture is meant to be taken literal. So, I'm saying it's not even in context. In context, what you saying? Every scripture cannot be taken
you're
in its own
being
context.
selective about how you interpret the Bible. If you are
I'm
Peter,
not selective. You just caught in real interpretation.
Peter, my friend, I'm gonna mute myself and just kind of let him dig his own grave. So,
all right.
Y'all are corny.
Thanks, Chris. Truth is back.
What do y'all
Flat
use these
earthers,
terms? I don't even know these terms digging a grave and came from. Like, y'all are so American, it's not even funny. Anyway, get out of this world, bro.
I can only hear like half of what you're saying.
I'm saying stop using these common terms. Get out of this world, bro. Like, you're a god in the flesh, bro. Most people don't know their worth.
I can hardly understand what you're saying.
I'm saying you're a god in the flesh. You need to know your worth. That's what I'm saying.
You're saying I am a god in the
Yes, you
flesh? Is that
are.
what you just said?
Yes. I have a question. Have you ever prayed for something and it didn't come true? I have a question. Has that ever happened?
I still can only hear half of what you're saying. And it sounds like
Have
we're
you
getting
ever
kind of off the rails here. We were talking about flat earth
prayed?
theory and the sunset, and then you brought up the Bible, which I permitted that diversion because I care about defending exegesis. But now you're trying to teach some moral lesson here that's not related to the topic, and I'm just like, what are we doing? I swear, there's something wrong with your
Because you're
mic. Like, you sound so muffled.
I don't know what it is.
And okay, well, it's pretty challenging to have a conversation with like, yeah. The best times I could hear you is when you spoke slowly and it made sure to enunciate very clearly. Now,
So,
is
do
there
you believe
something that you'd
every
like to?
scripture is meant to be interpreted the same?
I'm sorry, I missed the first part of what you said because I was talking.
Do
nobody
you
knows
believe
what he
every
said.
scripture is meant to be, bro? Do you believe every scripture is meant to be taken literally or taken as a in a poetic, beautiful matter, or just interpreted totally different?
I believe each passage or each verse should be taken in context and interpreted according to appropriate rules of exegesis for that passage,
Okay,
and
so
in
we're
light of the
talking about
harmony
the
of Scripture.
formation of the earth, and he's only talking about formation of the earth in a certain scripture. You know it's literal when there is no like, there's no analogies or any other things to it. He's literally just defining what it is. You know it's literal. If you can interpret it normally, you know it's literal. You take all the scriptures in the
Oh
context,
God, he's making a
like the dome.
firmament
He speaks of the
argument.
firmament like
Dome
glass.
is
There is no
not
argument for that.
Dome is not in Genesis 1. You are performing what's called eisegesis. That's where
Who said I
you
said
take
Genesis
a
1?
what?
I'm so confused. Who said I said Genesis 1? I have a question.
You were talking
Who
about
who, who
when
created
you
NASA?
like
Who's the guy that died that put the Bible scripture on his tombstone?
okay, you're
Dan what?
talking
You
too
know his
fast
name?
again. I can't understand you again. And
Who's
it
the
sounds
dude,
like you're
man?
kind of
Vance. The dude named Van something. I forgot his last name. He created NASA. Best friends with Walt Disney.
all right, you're
He
off
had a
subject again. You're off
Bible
subject
scripture that
again
talked about the firmament on his tombstone. Why?
because he liked the
Yeah,
verse. I
me.
don't know.
That's me.
No, the verse in itself literally said
That's me.
the handiwork of
My
God
name's
showed
Chris.
that he was real through the firmament. People wouldn't believe in God unless they knew about the firmament. That's literally what the scripture was exactly talking about.
Firmament is a mistranslation. Okay, the
Slow
Hebrew
it
It's
word
down.
not.
is
Slow it down, bro.
the Hebrew word that's translated firmament in King James is actually the word rachia, and it means vastness or expanse. It's actually a noun form of a verb meaning to expand or stretch out. And sometimes it means to expand or stretch out like by hammering a piece of metal. So,
So how do you open up the expanse of the light sky? How you open that up and let water flood from it? How can it be like glass?
it's all
How does
phenomenological.
GPS work on your phone?
It's not phenomenological. We've literally shot rockets and hit the firmament. They talk about it all the time.
Okay, that's BS. And do you
Jokingly,
know what the word phenomenological means?
Well, you take the
It
first
should be
word
easy because I
phenomenon.
defined it
And
for you
phenomenon,
earlier.
you really did pretty much. So yes.
Can you repeat back to me what phenomenological means?
Yeah, I really can't explain it more than what you just the name itself is a phenomenon basically. It was just going off that pretty much. I don't know how to
So
explain
you
it any other way.
can you paraphrase that? What does it mean to be like a phenomenon?
Using your logic off phenomenons basically.
Yeah,
So
so it's
yeah,
perceptual. It has to do with how it looks in your perception. Right? So we use phenomenological language all the time, like if we're, looking down the Grand Canyon from the top of the Grand Canyon and we see a little uh stream of water and we say, "Oh, it looks like a thread."
okay. How do rainbows
That's
work? I forgot how y'all said rainbows work. How does rainbows work? I can teach you how it works on a planet Earth. But how does it work on a globe? I forgot. Let me know. Explain it.
The
that's
fuck are
not
you
on
talking
subject.
about rainbows for?
I'm saying, how do you get a rainbow without a prism? How does it curve without a prism? Because it's a firmament like glass with lights. Simply put, if you actually think about it, it's very
Yeah,
simple.
light
You know the
diffraction.
Truman Show? The Truman
It's
Show, Jim Carrey?
science.
He tried to wake you up, but
All
you
right,
No,
you're
it's
because
you're
not
you
the
all
know
Truman
over the
Show. We're not
place.
talking about the Truman Show. We're not talking about a Jim Carrey movie.
Yeah,
he was
truth
trying to
is
wake
back.
you
This
up
is
and
called
most
gish
people,
galloping.
it's not gish
Okay,
galloping. It's called
Thank
trying
you.
to save people.
Thank you.
you
It would have taken me. It would have taken me a minute to look up gish galloping.
Gish galloping is a rhetorical technique in which a person in a debate attempts to overwhelm their opponent by providing an excessive number of arguments with no regard for the accuracy or strength of those arguments. That's what you're
Well,
doing.
not the last part, because I actually have
You're
I
throwing
know the
bullshit at the
details of
wall,
what I'm saying.
dude.
Everything was right besides the last part. I know every detail of what I'm saying. So,
Well, you think you do, but you don't. Everything you're
Wait,
saying is nonsense.
everything was right except the last part.
so I
Okay,
can't
back
tell
up.
you
Tell us
about the Truman
everything
Show.
up until the last part. No. You're still talking. You're talking really. You're talking a lot, and you're talking really quiet. Tell us everything up until the last part.
Where Chris, what are you getting at? What's up?
My brother in Christ, I've got a fixed cylinder 6 on a Ford Triton engine.
Bro, Chris,
Don't
if you
waste
eat
my
animals,
time.
Chris, if you eat those
Tell me.
animals, please stop calling me
Tell
brother.
me. No. You made a claim. Don't move the goalposts. You said that everything up until. All right. Tell us. What was everything up until? Recap it, please.
Oh, he said all the thing about gish galloping or whatever. I said all that's correct until the last part of it, and it was talking about not knowing the facts of the back end of what I'm saying, and that's not true because I do know the facts of it. I can't say I am throwing out points that are just seeming everywhere, but when you're
Okay.
gonna monetize at every
Elaborate.
turn, you got to do that
Elaborate.
because it's not much to say on taking
My
a drive
friend,
or taking my
elaborate.
idea. Do you know what adrenochrome is?
So,
It's because of the venue.
I just said, do you know what
Elaborate. It's.
adrenochrome is? What is
Oh,
adrenochrome?
Christ. What time is it?
12:47.
Yeah, it's.
I was trying to think, where did I just hear that word adrenochrome? And it suddenly came to me. That's a
Oh,
QAnon
fuck. He
belief,
said
isn't it?
adrenochrome.
Yes, that's a QAnon. Are you really dragging that into my life right now?
Dragging what? What'd you just say?
QAnon beliefs. Conspiracy beliefs
You
from
mean
QAnon.
you mean Bohemian
Adrenochrome.
Grove, Ryan Garcia?
Pushing.
You mean eating children? What are you talking about?
No,
That's not a. You
adrenochromes
mean ball? What you
are
saying?
something that is
That's typical.
extracted from the knee joint fluid of adolescence.
You're talking about the fountain
And
of
you got to
youth.
do it with a
Where they got that
16,
originally
no,
from?
14
All right.
gauge needle.
I probably have to
You're
cut
saying the
this
truth is
off
creepy.
before
The truth is
we
actually
head for
creepy.
disaster. This
This
hasn't been
world
a
is a disaster.
super
Wake up.
productive conversation. Truth is back, and I don't like
Look
where
at
it's
Peter, I
all the
headed.
love you
concepts.
for
So
letting me
Just
yell
look up
at
all the
somebody.
concepts I told you. Look up all the concepts I told you. Look up all of them. You've heard me say a lot of
Oh,
things.
yeah,
Just look at it.
you didn't tell us anything.
also,
I
you
can't
don't get
tell you
to
because it
assign
gets
us homework.
monetized. The truth gets monetized, bro. I can't tell you everything here, bro.
The truth is monetized. Okay, the fact that I got to pay $400 for metformin is monetized. Truth,
Anything else you'd like to share before
truth
I
is something different.
Truth is back. Anything else you'd like to share before I say goodnight and
Oh
disconnect
yeah,
you?
just look up underwater CGI on TikTok and you'll find a lot of stuff that's not censored.
All right, everyone
And it's
who's viewing,
actually
that's a
real.
very bad idea. That stuff is complete nonsense.
Don't,
Anything else you'd
yeah,
like to
I
share?
mean, you
Truth is
haven't
back.
looked
don't
at
do
it.
that.
Isn't there a lot of good stuff about Globe on the internet? So why would it be the same thing about other stuff? You're just
We should
assuming,
not
right?
be learning about science from TikTok. Okay, that's your first mistake.
What do you think I'm doing right now from you? Exactly, making no sense.
Well, this is a remedial measure because you
But
apparently
couldn't you do
didn't
this in a
learn it very
video?
well in school.
No, I'm saying, couldn't you do what you're doing right now
What
on
you're doing
a
right now
video?
is telling us that
I'm saying you're
what
smart.
you're
You
doing
could
right
take back
now
what you're saying on a video
is
before somebody
telling
else
us
doing it.
that DeWalt Black & Decker controls the price of Coca-Cola.
I'm saying
All
you can't complain
right.
about somebody else putting their mouths on the internet when you're doing it right now
Fuck.
wrongly at that.
All right, truth is back. I might be able to tolerate this more, but your mic is shot and you're mumbling and you're still gish galloping to some extent, and so I'm really getting exhausted here. And
All I'm
anyway,
saying is
Peter,
if you
man, I'm
explain
so sorry
science on TikTok Live,
if I got too
someone else can
heated.
make a video of it, right? And let's just say they're talking about the sphere Earth, right? That means they're telling, let's just say they're telling the truth. Let's just say they believe what you believe.
I can't
How
even
can that,
understand half of what you're saying. Truth is
All
I'm
back.
right,
saying
the
This
you're
is
just
not
goddamn
personal.
planet's
assuming it's
sphere.
false.
Sorry,
You're
it's
assuming it's
Have a
not
good
false.
night. Truth
spherical.
is
It's an
back.
oblate spheroid. Good night.
All right. Sorry.
I'm
What were
sorry,
you trying to
Peter.
say, Chris?
I'm sorry if it got too heated.
That's all right. I mean, I don't think you crossed any serious lines or anything. Um, that was also certainly trying on one's patience with him muttering
That
into his broken microphone and like behaving that way at the same time. That and all those
it,
nonsensical beliefs. Wow.
it was a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. That's a good phrase for it.
So thank you for letting me be part of this. And I know it's late, but thank you.
Well, thank you. It was fun to have you on, and I appreciate what you shared.
I tried, man. He pissed me off, but
Yeah, yeah. It's a very triggering kind of system of nonsense.
man, I'm a dad. I have two daughters. One's 9, one's 2.5, and I mean, look at the world, and it's a one day at a
Yeah.
time thing, and yeah,
When I
I
come on
could do
here,
what I could do.
yeah,
I could
when I
do what
come
I
on
could
here,
do one day at a time, and then that man pissed me off, and he kind of took me beyond what. Yeah,
yeah, it's tough.
but
I actually had a day recently when I kind of lost my temper a little bit with the guest. um,
man, it's hard.
it's the thing that helps me is to remember two things mainly. Um, one, I can't change the world. I probably can't even change one person's mind in all reality. So, like, the reason I'm up here is not to change the world or to change the mind of any guest that comes into my life. The reason I'm up here is number one, because I think it's fun to talk about science. And number two, because there might be people who are unsure who are watching, you know. And so maybe somebody will learn something, even if it's not the person that I'm talking to directly. And the second thing that helps me is just to remember to look not at the person who is acting this way on my live, because that's just going to make me angry. And they do deserve to be put in their place. And like, it's going to make me want to, come down on them with force. That's in my nature. Instead of looking at them, I have to look to Christ, because I'm a Christian, and when I read the Bible, I see Christ. He provided a sterling example for us of not treating people the way that they deserve. If you know what I mean by that. And so that's what helps me personally.
I
And
do.
it is challenging.
My friend, I was raised Catholic, and my personal belief these days is that historical Jesus was a brown socialist. So
He was a what?
a brown socialist. Sorry, I never did manage to find my earbuds. So yeah, my mic sucks. I'm on a backup phone because the screen of my
That's all right.
my
I heard you
main
the
phone
second time.
broke, and then my tablet broke, and then my laptop broke. Yeah. I've got a 2.5-year-old that breaks everything, so I'm on a backup phone right now.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I was raised Catholic. That's how it's always been.
I suppose.
And the associated guilt, and I'm 35 years old, my brother, and it's the core message is don't be a dick and love your neighbor. If there's ever any question, honest to God, if there's ever any question as to what I should do, the best question to ask myself is, what would Mr. Rogers do?
I can't disagree with that. He was a good man.
It's a good metric. We're
of course, Mr. Rogers
the
was
world's
also an
halfway
ordained
to
minister,
ending, and
so
we're just trying to get through, dude.
yeah. Yeah, and I think Mr. Rogers probably, at least in his personal life, I'm pretty sure he looked to Christ's example also. So
he did,
you know,
but at the same time, not once did he invoke his faith in his message.
Yeah, he definitely struck a very good balance, I think, with his public content.
I mean,
I have somebody in the chat.
Well,
saying
Fred Rogers died, then Harambe died, and then everything went to shit. So, hey man, I appreciate you having me on. Thank you so much. I'll
yeah, thank you.
Let me hit the I hit the follow button. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll follow you too. Let's see.
Thank you.
There we go.
Hey, have a good night, dude.
Thanks, you too. So I see Alex in the chat saying, Peter, which part of the Bible do you relate? Are you related to? Is that what you're asking? I'm not sure I understand the question, to be honest. So Spencer from Florida, I am so sorry. I'm planning to actually close this out soon. so I probably shouldn't accept another guest, because then I'll just go too long, knowing myself. Nothing personal. If you see me live again on another day, feel free to join. So sorry. So which part of the Bible do I relate to? Uh, well, almost all of it, really. I love the Bible. It's full of absolutely heart-wrenching and beautiful moral lessons and principles and stories and truth. And so, and not to mention poetry. So like, it's just, I don't know, that would be a hard choice. Well, actually, no. I guess there are two things in the Bible that are my favorite stories. Number one, my top favorite is the end of the Gospel of Luke, when Jesus is on the road to Emmaus with Cleopas and the other disciple. That is a beautiful story. I read that story and it's just so amazing. And two is the Exodus story, when God is preparing to, deliver Israel from the Egyptians, and he's revealed himself to Moses, and he's, that this whole drama is unfolding, basically the gods of Egypt versus the God of Israel. That drama gives me chills every time I read it. So, yeah. Those are my two favorites, I guess. Did I interpret the question correctly? We got people in here still arguing about flat Earth stuff from the Bible or whatever. Someone's asking, are you asking me? Do you take the Bible literally, as in everything actually happened? Or neat stories to be a good person? So the Bible, you'll notice that most of the time when it gives a historical narrative, or a story narrative, it's clearly described as a parable, like, when Jesus was teaching crowds, or it gives enormous detail, like names of people, genealogies, names of places, numbers, sizes of things, ages of people. It gives enormous detail. And some of that detail actually can be corroborated from external texts. So that seems to me like it's meant to be taken literally, as a literal historical narrative. And so I do. I believe it's God's word, and so I take that literally. And that includes Genesis 1, so I'm a young earth creationist. I don't believe that we share a common ancestor with monkeys and dogs and amoebas. But the Bible never, not even once, unequivocally describes the shape of the earth. It just never does that. So, since we also have photographs of it as being a sphere, I am a glober. Yes, I think if you take the Bible's historical narrative, the Earth does come out to something like 7,000 years old, give or take. Thought the Earth is a pear, not a globe. Just stop listening to sound bites from Neil deGrasse Tyson unless you understand the science behind it, because he was talking about something so tiny, like a deviation from sphericity, so tiny that you literally cannot see it by looking at a picture of the Earth from space. You can't see it. That's not how they measured it. I don't know exactly how they measured it, but it wasn't by looking. So, just, yeah. You're taking a soundbite out of context without understanding the science, and that's why you're confused. I see what you did there, Iron Horse. You probably think you're so clever, substituting the word seance for science. Ha 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 ha. Alex says, I'm Catholic. I do take evolution theory. I believe we're made of stardust. Okay. Well, I mean, I certainly won't like question someone's, the genuineness of someone's Christianity just because they might, have a different view than I do on Genesis 1. I'm not about like making that a salvation issue per se. Yeah, so we had a few people in here. I've driven out far more powerful demons. All right, Iron Horse. I'm sorry, I can't take you seriously when you say that. That's just ridiculous. Oh boy. End of days saying, Peter, can we talk about the globe? Yeah, I should probably end it actually. I mean, I've been going about as long as I said I would. A little longer, 2.5 hours almost. Yeah, I should check on my wife, see if she's doing okay and everything. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining. Yeah, I bet you do, Iron Horse. Yeah, whatever. Spencer from Florida, are you asking if I've like done acting in the past? I mean, only for like home movies. So probably doesn't count. All right, thank you everyone. I hope you all have a good night. Thank you all for your support and your participation. You've been wonderful, at least most of you. All right. Iron Horse, nobody takes you seriously. You're just a joke. I'm sorry. Hate to break it to you. All right, thanks everybody. Have a good night.